The promise. The sterile smell of the doctor's office still clung to Elsa's clothes as she sat in her car, hands gripping the steering wheel. The words echoed in her mind, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Richards. The test results are conclusive. You won't be able to conceive." Being wolfless was already a mark of shame among her people. Now this, another failure of her body to be what everyone expected. At 28, Elsa had hoped against hope that maybe, just maybe, she could give her husband the children he desperately wanted. The drive home felt endless. Their house sat on the edge of the pack territory, a modest two-story with white picket fencing that had once felt like a dream. Now it felt like a prison. She parked in the driveway and stared at the yellow nursery window on the second floor, the room they'd prepared 3 years ago, full of hope and painted in cheerful sunshine colors. Inside, everything was exactly as she'd left it. The crib Hector had assembled with reluctant hands. The rocking chair where she'd imagined reading bedtime stories. The small wolf plush sitting on the changing table, waiting for a child who would never come. Elsa picked up the plush toy, its soft gray fur worn from her countless touches over the years. "Another thing my body can't do right," she whispered to the empty room. The phone's shrill ring startled her from her thoughts. She hurried downstairs, expecting Hector calling to check on the appointment results. "Elsa Richards?" The voice was strained, urgent. "Yes. This is Marcus from the Ironwood Pack. Lola is asking for you. She's in critical condition, rogue wolves attacked her patrol. She's asking for you specifically. Only you." Elsa's hand tightened around the phone. Lola, her childhood friend who'd become Luna of the powerful Ironwood Pack. They hadn't spoken in nearly a decade, not since Lola's mating ceremony where Elsa had felt so out of place among the strong wolves. "Is she?" Elsa began. "You need to come now," Marcus interrupted. "She won't last long." The Ironwood estate sat like a fortress on the hill, all stone and timber with guards flanking the entrance. Their eyes glowed amber in the fading light as they caught her scent. "State your business, outsider," one growled. "Elsa Richards. Your Luna asked for me." Inside, the house was eerily quiet. Pack members lined the corridors, heads bowed in grief. A guard led her up a sweeping staircase to a set of double doors. The master bedroom was dim, heavy with the scent of herbs and blood. Lola lay pale and bandaged in a massive four-poster bed, her golden skin turned ashen. But it was the cradle beside the bed that made Elsa's breath catch. "Elsa," Lola's voice was barely audible. "You came." "Of course I came." Elsa moved to her bedside, taking her friend's cold hand. "What happened?" "Rogues, testing our borders for weeks." Each word seemed to cost Lola tremendous effort. "Led the patrol myself, should have waited for backup." From the cradle came a small whimper, then a full-throated cry. Elsa glanced over, seeing a tiny bundle wrapped in a pink blanket. "That's Paige," Lola whispered. "My daughter." The baby couldn't be more than 4 months old. She looked up at Elsa with wide, familiar eyes, Lola's eyes. Something in Elsa's chest cracked open. Without thinking, she reached out. "Shoo," she murmured, gently rocking the cradle. Paige quieted almost instantly, her tiny hand curling around Elsa's finger. "She knows," Lola said, a tear sliding down her temple. "She senses family." "Where's her father?" "Your mate." Lola's face contorted with pain. "Keith is across the border, negotiating with the Eastern Coalition. They can't reach him in time." She drew a shaky breath. "Listen to me, Elsa. I need you to promise me something. Anything. Take her. Raise her as your own." Elsa's head snapped up. "Lola, I don't know if I can. You're the only one I trust." Lola's fingers tightened around Elsa's wrist. "Keith, he won't want her. That's impossible. What father wouldn't want his own child?" Lola's voice dropped to a whisper. She's like you, Elsa. I've sensed it since she was born. She's wolfless. The word landed like a stone in still water. Elsa looked down at the peaceful baby in her arms. How can you be sure? She's just a baby. A mother knows. Lola's breathing became more labored. Keith's bloodline goes back to the first pack. His legacy depends on strong wolves. When he finds out. Her eyes filled with tears. But you'll understand her. Protect her. Love her despite it. Hector's words from their last fight echoed in Elsa's head. I married you despite your condition, but I draw the line at raising someone else's throwaway child. Lola, I don't think my husband will. Please. Blood appeared at the corner of Lola's mouth. My wounds aren't healing. Don't let my baby grow up unloved or as some pack's shameful secret. Paige cooed softly, blissfully unaware of the gravity of the moment. Something fierce bloomed in Elsa's chest, a feeling she'd always imagined but never experienced. Maternal. Protective. Hector will just have to understand, she whispered, surprising herself with her resolve. Relief washed over Lola's face. Thank you. Her voice grew fainter. Promise me you'll love her like your own. I promise, Elsa said, her voice breaking. I promise, Lola. The pack healer moved swiftly to Lola's side as her breathing became erratic. Outside, someone howled, a mournful sound that raised the hair on Elsa's arms. Lola's eyes held hers for one final moment, gratitude and grief shining in their depths, before they fluttered closed. A soft exhale, and then stillness. Elsa held Paige closer, the baby's warmth anchoring her to the present moment. Whatever came next, she would keep her promise. This little girl would be loved, wolf or no wolf. Just you and me now, sweet girl, she whispered, pressing a gentle kiss to Paige's forehead. I've got you. The choice. The yellow nursery that had sat empty for years now cradled life. Elsa rocked gently in the old chair, Paige tucked against her chest, suckling from a bottle. That's it, sweet girl, Elsa whispered, brushing Paige's soft cheek. You're doing so well. Only hours had passed since she'd left the Ironwood estate with Paige in her arms, but it felt like a lifetime. She was learning the baby's rhythms, how she slept best against Elsa's heartbeat, the tiny sounds she made when content. Grief and joy tangled together in Elsa's chest, impossible to separate. Paige's eyes, Lola's eyes, gazed up at her with unfocused trust. No sign of a wolf spirit yet, but Elsa didn't care. It doesn't matter what you are, she murmured. You're perfect. Tires crunched on gravel. A car door slammed. Footsteps on the porch. Hector was home, right on schedule, unaware that everything had changed. Elsa placed Paige gently in the crib and moved to the hallway. Elsa, he called from downstairs. What's that scent? Up here, she answered, her voice steadier than she felt. He climbed the stairs two at a time. There's a car seat downstairs and baby things. He stopped as a soft cry sounded from the nursery. Confusion darkened his face. Hector, I can explain. He brushed past her. In the nursery, he stared at Paige blinking up at him, tiny fists waving. What is this? He whispered. Elsa folded her hands nervously. She'd hoped for a better reaction, maybe even happiness. Her name is Paige. She's 4 months old. She's my friend Lola's baby. Lola was attacked this morning. I don't understand, Hector interrupted. What does that have to do with all this? Elsa hesitated, measuring her words. Lola gave her to me, Hector. To us, she added hurriedly. He stared at the baby, then at Elsa. What? Paige doesn't have a wolf, Elsa explained quickly. Lola was worried her father wouldn't want her. She didn't want Paige to grow up unloved. You can't be serious. Hector's voice rose, making Paige stir. Tell me you didn't just bring home a baby without even calling me. There was no time. Lola was dying, Hector. Taking Paige was her dying wish. She made me promise. So you made a decision for both of us? His voice climbed higher. This isn't a stray cat, Elsa. It's a child. I know exactly what she is. Elsa lifted Paige, her heart racing. She needs someone to love her. And you think that someone is us? Hector snapped. After I told you I never wanted to raise another man's child. He began pacing. This is about your diagnosis, isn't it? You're so desperate you'll take anyone's cast off. Don't you dare call her that. Elsa's voice turned sharp, fierce. She's defective, Elsa. Do you know what this does to my standing in the pack? They already whisper about my wolfless wife. I see, Elsa snapped. So that's what this comes down to. Your reputation. Your standing in the pack. Our standing, Elsa. Our life together. Hector's tone softened, becoming cajoling. Be reasonable. We can find another home for her. A human family, perhaps. Somewhere she'll fit in. Is that what you wish had happened to me? Elsa asked quietly. That I'd been given away to humans. Hector had the grace to look uncomfortable. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. Clarity washed over her, cold and bracing. You've never seen me as your equal, have you? You married me, but you never claimed me as your mate. We agreed to wait until. We didn't agree to anything. You decided, and I accepted it. Like I've accepted everything else. She looked around the nursery, at the crib she'd carefully preserved all these years. But I won't accept this. I won't send Paige away. Hector straightened his tie, eyes cold. And I won't raise another man's wolfless child, Elsa. Not even for you. Elsa exhaled, a strange calm settling over her. Well, I can't break my promise to Lola. You'd throw away our marriage for this? Hector's jaw tightened as he looked between Elsa and the baby. I need you to make a choice right now, Elsa. It's either me or that child. Elsa's head snapped up in shock. You're asking me to choose. She searched his face for any hint of the tenderness they'd once shared, but found only cold determination. And what if I am? He crossed his arms. If you truly want to save our marriage, you'll call this child's father and tell him to come get his daughter tonight. And if I don't? Then pack your things and leave. He said it matter-of-factly, as if discussing the weather. I won't be the beta who not only couldn't give his wolfless wife a child, but then raised another alpha's reject. Paige squirmed in Elsa's arms, her tiny hand curling around Elsa's finger. The gesture, so small and trusting, brought unexpected clarity. I choose her, Elsa said quietly. Hector blinked, clearly not expecting this answer. What? You heard me. Her voice grew stronger. I won't abandon this baby. Not for you. Not for anyone. You can't be serious. Hector laughed harshly. You'd throw away our marriage for a child you've known for a few hours. She is mine now, Elsa met his gaze without flinching. And yes, I would. Because a man who would ask me to make this choice isn't a man worth choosing. She walked past him to their bedroom, Paige still cradled against her chest. With one hand, she pulled her suitcase from the closet and laid it open on the bed. I'll be out within the hour, she said, her voice surprisingly steady. Hector followed, watching as she packed essentials with one hand. You're making a mistake. But there was uncertainty creeping into his voice now. He hadn't expected her to call his bluff. Elsa paused, looking directly at him. You never loved me enough to claim me as your mate, and now you're asking me to abandon a child and need to break my promise to her mother, all to protect your pride. She resumed packing. No, Hector. The only mistake I made was not leaving you sooner. 20 minutes later, Elsa stood on the porch, Paige secured in her car seat, two hastily packed bags at her feet. The night air was cool against her face, stars appearing in the darkening sky. She loaded everything into her car without looking back. "Just you and me now, little one," she whispered to Paige as she started the engine. For the first time in years, despite the uncertainty ahead, Elsa felt truly free. New beginnings. The tiny apartment bathroom barely fit both of them, but Elsa and Paige had made it work for the past month. Elsa checked the water temperature with her wrist, adjusting the faucet until it was just right. "Ready for your bath, sweetheart?" she asked, lifting Paige from her bouncy seat perched on the closed toilet lid. The baby kicked her legs in excitement, recognizing their evening routine. The apartment was small but clean, one bedroom with just enough space for a second-hand crib beside the twin bed, a kitchenette with a wobbly table, and a living area that fit only a threadbare couch she'd found at Goodwill. Paige squealed as Elsa lowered her into the water, tiny hands slapping at the surface. "That's right," Elsa laughed. "Make a big splash." The phone had rung 3 times this week, Hector alternating between demanding she come home, "This has gone on long enough, Elsa," and coldly informing her that he was proceeding with divorce. "You've made your choice. Now deal with the consequences." During their last conversation, he'd finally revealed what she'd long suspected. "I need a real mate," he'd said, his voice hard through the receiver. "Someone who can give me children of my own. My bloodline doesn't deserve to end because you're defective." The word had stung, even though she'd heard it countless times before. But as she looked at Paige now, babbling happily in her bath, Elsa realized the sting had lost its power. She had something more precious than Hector's approval, she had purpose. "You're not defective, are you, baby girl?" she cooed, gently washing Paige's soft curls. "You're exactly who you're supposed to be." A knock at the door made them both freeze. Elsa's heart hammered. Very few people knew where she lived. She'd deliberately chosen this apartment complex on the outskirts of human territory, far from pack politics and judgmental eyes. Another knock, more insistent. "Stay quiet, sweet girl," Elsa whispered, quickly lifting Paige from the bath and wrapping her in a towel. She peered through the peephole and gasped. A tall man stood in the hallway, his back to the door, but she could see the tension in his broad shoulders, the barely contained power in his stance. When he turned slightly, she caught sight of his profile, sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw, eyes that glowed amber even in the dim hallway light. Alpha. Every instinct she possessed screamed the warning, even without her wolf to confirm it. He knocked again, and this time spoke. "I know you're in there. I can scent my daughter." Elsa's blood turned to ice. "Keith." Paige's father had found them. "Please," his voice was rough, strained. "I just want to talk." Paige chose that moment to let out a piercing cry, as if she recognized something in that voice. The sound seemed to hit Keith like a physical blow. Elsa watched through the peephole as his shoulders sagged. "Please," he repeated, and the raw pain in his voice made her decision. Elsa unlocked the deadbolt and opened the door, keeping the chain latch engaged. Through the narrow gap, she met eyes the exact same shade as Paige's, and Lola's. "You're Keith," she said unnecessarily. "And you're Elsa Richards." His gaze moved to Paige in her arms, and his breath caught. "My God, she looks just like her mother." Paige had stopped crying and was staring at Keith with wide, curious eyes. Her tiny hand reached toward the gap in the door. "How did you find us?" Elsa asked. "I've been searching for weeks. The pack told me Lola died giving birth, that the baby died too." His voice cracked. "It wasn't until yesterday that someone finally told me the truth, that you'd taken her." Elsa's grip tightened on Paige. "Lola asked me to protect her. She said you wouldn't want. That I wouldn't want my own daughter." Keith's eyes flashed. "Who told you that?" "Lola did. She said because Paige is." Elsa hesitated. "Wolfless." Keith's voice was gentle. "I know. I've known since the day she was born. Elsa stared at him in shock. And you don't care? Keith was quiet for a long moment. When I came back and found them both gone, I thought I'd lost everything. My mate, my child, everything that mattered. He looked at Paige again, his expression softening. Do you really think I'd reject the last piece of Lola I have left because she can't shift? But your bloodline. My bloodline doesn't matter more than my daughter. Keith's voice was firm. May I come in? Please. I've been traveling for days, and I just want to hold her. Elsa studied his face, searching for any sign of deception. All she saw was a father desperate to be reunited with his child. Slowly, she unlatched the chain. Keith stepped inside, and immediately the small apartment felt even smaller. He was tall, probably 6'4", with the kind of presence that commanded attention. But as he looked at Paige, all that alpha authority melted away. She's beautiful, he whispered. Just like Lola. Paige reached toward him, making soft cooing sounds. Keith looked at Elsa questioningly. May I? Elsa hesitated only a moment before carefully transferring Paige to her father's arms. The baby settled against his chest immediately, tiny fingers grasping at his shirt. Hello, little star, Keith murmured, his voice thick with emotion. Daddy's here. I'm so sorry it took me so long to find you. Watching them together, Elsa felt a complex mix of emotions. Joy that Paige was reunited with her father, but also a sharp pain at the thought of losing the baby who'd become her whole world. I suppose you'll be taking her back to your pack now, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Keith looked up at her, something unreadable in his expression. That depends. On what? On whether you'll come with us. Elsa blinked in surprise. What? Lola trusted you with the most precious thing in her life. She asked you to be Paige's mother, didn't she? Yes, but... Then that's what I want too. Keith's voice was serious. Paige has already bonded with you. I can see it, smell it. And honestly? He looked around the small apartment. You both deserve better than this. I don't understand what you're suggesting. Keith was quiet for a moment, gently rocking Paige. I'm suggesting that we raise her together. As a family. Elsa's heart hammered. You don't even know me. I know enough. I know you gave up everything to keep a promise to a dying woman. I know you've been caring for my daughter as if she were your own. His eyes met hers. And I know that Lola wouldn't have chosen just anyone. She saw something in you. Your pack will never accept me. I'm wolfless, divorced. I'm the alpha, Keith said simply. What I say goes. And I say that Paige needs her mother, both of her mothers. Lola gave birth to her, but you're the one who's been raising her, loving her. Paige yawned and snuggled deeper into Keith's chest, completely content. Will you at least consider it? Keith asked. Come back with us. Let me give you both the life you deserve. Elsa looked at Paige, then at Keith. For the first time in weeks, she felt hope blooming in her chest. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll come with you. Keith's smile was radiant. Thank you, Elsa. You won't regret this. As she watched him with Paige, Elsa began to believe that maybe, just maybe, her story was far from over. Maybe it was just beginning. Coming home. The Ironwood estate looked different in daylight. Less intimidating, more welcoming. As Keith's SUV pulled up the circular drive, Elsa felt her nervousness spike. She'd been here once before, but under very different circumstances. Second thoughts? Keith asked, glancing at her in the rearview mirror. Paige was sleeping peacefully in her car seat between them. A few, Elsa admitted. Your pack lost their Luna a month ago. Now their alpha is bringing home a wolfless woman and expecting them to accept her as. As what? Keith turned to face her fully. As my daughter's mother? As someone under my protection? Because that's exactly what you are. Over the past week of traveling together, Elsa had begun to see glimpses of the man behind the alpha mask. Keith was patient with Paige during her fussy moments, insisted on taking night feedings so Elsa could sleep, and never once made her feel like a burden. But she also sensed the steel beneath his kindness. This was a man accustomed to being obeyed. Alpha Keith. A woman emerged from the front entrance, her relief palpable. Thank the goddess you're back. Miranda, Keith nodded to the woman. This is Elsa Richards. She's been caring for Paige. Miranda's eyes widened as she took in the baby carrier, then Elsa. The baby, she's alive. Very much so. Keith's voice held a warning. I trust the pack will welcome both Paige and Elsa home. It wasn't a request. Miranda nodded quickly. Of course, Alpha. Whatever you need. Inside, news of their arrival spread quickly. Pack members gathered in the main hall, their whispers following Elsa as Keith led her up the stairs. She caught fragments, Wolfless. Not the Luna. Alpha's lost his mind. Keith must have heard them too, because his jaw tightened. But he said nothing until they reached the master suite. I've had the adjoining room prepared for you, he said, opening a door to reveal a beautifully appointed bedroom with an ensuite bathroom. Paige's nursery is through there. He indicated another door. I thought you might want to be close. Elsa stepped into the room, overwhelmed by the luxury after weeks in her tiny apartment. Keith, this is too much. It's not enough, he said firmly. You've been sleeping on a twin mattress, living off savings, caring for my daughter with no help from anyone. This is the least I can do. Paige chose that moment to wake up, making her hungry sounds. Keith immediately reached for her. I've got her, Elsa said automatically, but Keith was already lifting the baby from her carrier. We've got her, he corrected gently. That's the point of this arrangement, remember? You don't have to do everything alone anymore. Watching him with Paige still made Elsa's heart skip. He was so gentle with her, so attentive. Nothing like the cold rejection Lola had feared. Alpha. Miranda's voice came from the doorway. The council is requesting an immediate meeting. Keith's expression darkened. Of course they are. He looked at Elsa. Will you be all right for an hour or so? We'll be fine, Elsa assured him, taking Paige back. Go handle your pack business. After he left, Elsa explored the nursery Keith had prepared. It was beautiful, soft pastels, quality furniture, everything a baby could need. But it also felt overwhelmingly large after the cozy corner of her apartment where Paige had slept. What do you think, sweet girl? She asked Paige, who was content to look around with wide eyes. Pretty fancy, huh? A soft knock made her turn. An elderly woman stood in the doorway, her silver hair braided elegantly. You must be Elsa. I'm Eleanor, the pack's former Luna, Keith's mother. Elsa's stomach dropped. Of course. She'd been so focused on pack acceptance that she hadn't even considered Keith's family. Luna. Eleanor is fine, dear. The older woman approached, her gaze settling on Paige with unmistakable longing. May I? Elsa hesitated only a moment before passing the baby to her grandmother. Eleanor's face softened as Paige gurgled happily in her arms. She has Lola's eyes, Eleanor murmured. But Keith's stubborn chin. She looked up at Elsa. And according to my son, she has your protective spirit. He told you about what I am. That you're wolfless? Eleanor's tone was matter-of-fact. Yes. He also told me that you gave up everything to honor a dying woman's wish. That you chose my granddaughter over your own security. She paused. That takes remarkable courage. Elsa felt tears prick her eyes. She'd expected judgment, rejection. Instead, she was finding acceptance in the most unexpected places. The council isn't happy, Eleanor continued. They think Keith should find a suitable mate, someone who can give him more heirs. They don't understand that grief isn't so easily replaced. But you do. Eleanor's smile was sad. I lost my mate 15 years ago. I know what it's like to have half your soul ripped away. Keith may not see it yet, but he's not ready for another romantic relationship. What he needs is a partner in raising his daughter. A friend. Someone who already loves Paige as much as he does. And you think that's me? I think, Eleanor said carefully, that Lola chose very well. Their conversation was interrupted by raised voices from downstairs. Eleanor's expression tightened. The council meeting isn't going well, she observed. As if summoned by her words, Keith appeared in the doorway. His face was thunderous. What happened? Elsa asked. They want me to send you away, Keith said bluntly. They think harboring a wolfless woman weakens the pack's image. They're demanding I find a proper Luna who can give me legitimate heirs. Elsa's heart sank. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should. No. Keith's voice was sharp. I've already told them my decision is final. You and Paige stay. Anyone who has a problem with that can challenge me for leadership. Eleanor raised an eyebrow. And how did they respond to that? Keith's smile was grim. About as well as you'd expect. But challenges must be formal, and I doubt any of them have the courage to face me in combat. Keith, Elsa said quietly, I don't want to cause problems for your pack. You're not causing problems. Small-minded prejudice is causing problems. He moved to take Paige from his mother. Besides, there's something the council doesn't know yet. What's that? Eleanor asked. Keith looked directly at Elsa. I've been thinking about what you said before, about pack bonds and blood bonds. You're right that Paige deserves to be officially recognized as pack. But she's already your daughter. She is. But you're not officially anything. Just someone caring for my child out of kindness. Keith's expression was serious. I want to formally adopt you into the pack, Elsa. As Paige's co-parent. It would give you legal standing, protection, a permanent place here. Elsa stared at him. Is that possible? For an alpha? Yes. The ceremony would bind you to the pack permanently. You'd have all the rights and protections of a born member. Eleanor smiled approvingly. Clever. The council can't argue with a formal adoption. It's well within your rights as alpha. But, Keith continued, his gaze never leaving Elsa's face, it has to be your choice. Once you're bound to the pack, there's no going back. This would be your home, these would be your people, for life. Elsa looked around the nursery, at the beautiful room Keith had prepared, at Eleanor holding Paige with such obvious love, at Keith himself, this powerful man who traveled across the country to find his daughter and insisted on bringing Elsa home too. What about Paige? She asked. Will the pack accept her, even knowing she's wolfless? They'll accept her because she's mine, Keith said firmly. And because she's yours. An alpha's daughter and an adopted pack member's daughter. Anyone who challenges that challenges me directly. Paige reached toward Elsa, making her happy babbling sounds. Looking at this little girl who'd changed everything, Elsa felt the last of her resistance crumble. Yes, she said softly. Yes, I want to be part of this pack. I want to be Paige's mother, officially. Keith's smile was brilliant. Then we'll hold the ceremony tomorrow night. The full moon is perfect timing. Eleanor clapped her hands together. Wonderful. I'll begin preparations immediately. Oh, this is exactly what this pack needs, some joy after so much sorrow. As Keith's mother bustled away to make arrangements, Keith moved closer to Elsa. Are you sure about this? He asked quietly. Once you're pack, there's no going back to your old life. Elsa thought about her tiny apartment, about Hector's cold rejection, about all the years she'd spent feeling like she didn't belong anywhere. "There's nothing to go back to," she said honestly. You and Paige and this pack, this feels like home." Keith nodded, then hesitated. "There's one more thing. The adoption ceremony, it's not just about pack bonds. In the eyes of our law, it would make us." He paused, searching for the right words. "Make us what?" "Co-parents. Partners in raising Paige. It's not marriage, but it's a permanent bond. A commitment to each other through our shared responsibility for her." Elsa felt her cheeks warm. "Oh. I wanted you to understand all the implications before you decided." Looking at Keith, really looking at him, Elsa realized she could do much worse than being bonded to this man. He was honorable, kind, devoted to his daughter. And if she was being honest with herself, she developed feelings for him over the past week that went beyond mere gratitude. "I understand," she said. "And I'm still sure." Relief flooded Keith's features. "Good. Because I can't imagine raising Paige without you now. You've become as essential to her happiness as breathing." That night, as Elsa tucked Paige into her new crib, she felt a peace she'd never experienced before. Tomorrow would bring the ceremony that would change everything. She would officially become part of something larger than herself, bound not just to Paige but to Keith and his pack. "Tomorrow you'll have a real family, sweet girl," she whispered to the sleeping baby. "A daddy who adores you, a grandmother who's already spoiling you, and a mommy who's never going anywhere." Through the window, she could see the moon growing full, preparing to witness the transformation of 3 separate lives into one family. For the first time since receiving her devastating diagnosis, Elsa felt truly blessed. The family she'd always dreamed of hadn't come the way she'd expected. But sometimes the most beautiful gifts came wrapped in the most unexpected packages. Forever family. The full moon hung heavy and silver above the Ironwood estate as pack members gathered in the ceremonial clearing. Elsa stood at the edge of the circle, Paige sleeping peacefully in her arms, waiting for Keith to summon her forward. Tonight, Keith's voice carried easily across the assembled wolves, "We welcome new family into our pack. Not through birth, but through choice. Not through blood, but through love." Eleanor had spent the day helping Elsa prepare, choosing a simple white dress that made her feel elegant rather than out of place. "You look beautiful, dear," she'd assured her. "Like you belong here." Now, as Keith gestured for her to step into the moonlight, Elsa felt the weight of dozens of eyes upon her. Some curious, some skeptical, but many, she was surprised to see, openly welcoming. "Elsa Richards," Keith's formal alpha voice resonated with power, "you have cared for my daughter as if she were born of your own body. You have sacrificed your comfort, your security, your previous life to honor a sacred promise. Do you now wish to bind yourself to this pack, to accept us as your family and pledge yourself to our protection and prosperity?" "I do," Elsa said clearly, her voice carrying despite her nervousness. "And do you swear to raise Paige Ironwood as your own daughter, to guide her, protect her, and love her regardless of what gifts she may or may not possess?" "I swear it," Elsa said, looking down at the sleeping baby. "With everything I have." Keith moved closer, producing a ceremonial blade that gleamed in the moonlight. "Then let the pack witness this bond." The ritual was ancient but simple. A small cut on Elsa's palm, a few drops of blood mixed with earth from the territory, words of binding spoken under the moon's watchful eye. But as Keith wrapped her hand in soft cloth, Elsa felt something profound shift inside her. She belonged here. Finally, completely, she belonged somewhere. "I present to you," Keith announced to the pack, "Elsa Ironwood, mother to my daughter, member of our family, under my protection and with all the rights that entails." The pack's howl of acceptance rose to the moon, a sound that should have frightened Elsa but instead filled her with warmth. Even without a wolf of her own, she was part of this song, this family, this life. 3 months later. "Mama! Mama!" 6-month-old Paige's delighted babbling filled the nursery as Elsa lifted her from the crib. The baby had started using the word consistently last week, and it still made Elsa's heart skip every time. "Good morning, sunshine," Elsa cooed, carrying Paige to the window. "Ready for breakfast?" The past 3 months had been a period of adjustment and joy. The pack had gradually accepted Elsa, especially after seeing how devoted she was to Paige and how much happier their alpha seemed with his little family intact. Some of the older members still whispered about her wolfless status, but none dared voice their concerns directly, not when Keith made it abundantly clear that insulting Elsa meant insulting him. "There are my girls," Keith's voice came from the doorway. He looked tired but content, dressed for another day of alpha duties but always making time for these morning moments. "Dada!" Paige reached for him immediately, and Keith's face lit up as he took her into his arms. "How's my little star this morning?" he asked, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "Ready to cause some trouble today?" Elsa laughed. "She's already figured out how to knock her blocks down on purpose. I think she likes the noise. Smart girl. Takes after her mother." Keith's eyes met Elsa's over Paige's head, and she felt that familiar flutter of warmth. Their relationship had evolved slowly, carefully. They were partners in every sense, raising Paige together, making decisions together, supporting each other through the challenges of pack life. But there was something deeper growing between them too, something neither had quite acknowledged aloud. "Keith," Elsa said hesitantly, "there's something I wanted to talk to you about." "What's wrong?" His attention immediately sharpened, protective instincts engaging. "Nothing's wrong. It's just..." She took a breath. "Hector contacted me yesterday. The divorce papers are finalized." Keith went very still. "How do you feel about that?" "Free," Elsa said honestly. "Like I can finally move forward with my life instead of being stuck in the past." "And what does moving forward look like for you?" Elsa met his gaze steadily. "It looks like this. Like us. Like the family we've built together." Keith's expression softened. "Elsa. I know what you're going to say," she interrupted. "That it's too soon, that I'm still grieving my marriage, that you're still mourning Lola. And maybe all of that's true. But I also know that what we have is real." Keith was quiet for a long moment, gently rocking Paige. "I loved Lola," he said finally. "I'll always love her. She gave me Paige, and that's a gift I can never repay." Elsa's heart sank, but Keith continued. "But what I feel for you, it's different. Not less, just different. You chose us, Elsa. You chose Paige when you could have walked away, and you chose this pack when you could have stayed safe in your human apartment. You chose to bind your life to ours forever." "Keith. I'm not asking for anything to change," he said quickly. "I know our arrangement works. I just want you to know that if you ever wanted more, if you ever thought about us being more than co-parents." Elsa stepped closer, close enough to touch his free hand. "I think about it every day." Keith's breath caught. "Yeah. Yeah." She smiled up at him. "I think I've been falling in love with you for months, and I was too scared to admit it." "Scared of what?" "Of ruining what we have. Of you thinking I was just grateful or desperate or..." Keith's kiss cut off her worried words. It was gentle, tentative, but filled with months of suppressed feeling. Paige giggled between them as if she approved. When they broke apart, Keith rested his forehead against hers. "I love you too," he whispered. "I love you for who you are, not what you can or can't do. I love you for the mother you are to Paige, the woman you've become, the strength you've shown. Even though I'm wolfless." "Especially because you're you," Keith said firmly. "Wolf or no wolf, you're exactly who our family needs." Paige chose that moment to clap her hands and squeal with delight, making both adults laugh. "I think someone approves," Elsa said, reaching out to smooth Paige's curls. "She's got good taste," Keith agreed. "Takes after her dad." 1 year later. The wedding was small, held in the same ceremonial clearing where Elsa had been adopted into the pack. This time, though, she wore Lola's dress, altered to fit her with Eleanor's help and given with Keith's blessing. "She would have wanted you to have it," he'd said when Eleanor suggested it. "She would have wanted you to be happy." As they exchanged vows under the same full moon that had witnessed her adoption, Elsa felt Lola's presence like a blessing. The friend who had entrusted her with the most precious gift, who had seen in Elsa what she hadn't been able to see in herself. Paige, now walking and chattering constantly, Todd ged between them during the ceremony, her delighted laughter punctuating their solemn promises. When Keith kissed his bride, the baby clapped as if she'd orchestrated the whole thing herself. "I now present Alpha Keith and Luna Elsa Ironwood," the officiant announced, and this time the pack's howl of celebration was for both of them. Later, as they danced under the stars with Paige giggling in Keith's arms, Elsa marveled at the journey that had brought them here. From the sterile doctor's office to this moment of perfect joy, it seemed impossible that so much happiness could grow from such devastating loss. "No regrets?" Keith asked, spinning her gently. Elsa looked at her husband, at the baby who'd become her daughter in every way that mattered, at the pack that had welcomed her as family. She thought of the empty nursery that now overflowed with toys and laughter, of the woman she'd become through loving unconditionally. "Not a single one," she said. "This is exactly where I'm meant to be." And as Paige reached for both her parents with chubby arms, as if to pull them into her own perfect circle of love, Elsa knew it was true. Sometimes the family you choose is the one that chooses you back. Sometimes the greatest gifts come wrapped in the most unexpected packages. And sometimes, when you think your story is ending, it's really just beginning. The end.